has been a minute. I keep saying I'm going to do better. I'm going to post more. And life keeps happening. Our babies, our sons, they're not babies. They're all adults. But we've been taking people back and forth to school, university, and things. But today I had this thought. And it's a thought that I've been getting a lot for myself. And I thought I might not be the only person. So what if I'm not right? The first time I had this thought was at the beginning of July, and it terrified me. It terrified me because I am that person that is going to measure twice to cut once. I always have to tell people whenever I wear this shirt and record, favorite shirt, and so it is the most free flowing shirt or whatever, and I just refuse to get rid of it. I'll probably get more made. But back to my point. Um, what if I'm not right? Now, if you're a person like me who, I grew up in the church, I grew up being the one that was going to say, hey, I'm doing what mom and daddy said do. I'm doing what everybody thinks is the right thing to do. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I followed this standard. I followed that one. But what if after all of that, I'm not right? What if there's another way to look at the world? What if there's another consideration that I haven't made? And I'm here to suggest that the consideration that you haven't made is exactly the one that will get you to your next place, that will take you to the thing that you've been praying and crying and seeking and yielding to, the thing that you are resisting because, well, I don't practice being wrong. Some people might look at me and say, oh no, she's a bit, like my family might say I'm a bit eclectic. I'm not. All of my actions are measured to a certain extent. Whatever many people would think that this is really, really out there, I'm like, you haven't seen anything. You don't even know half of what I would do, right? Um, and so I'm always measuring, I'm always calculating, I'm always, you know, thinking about, what will this decision cause me to cause me to have to do? What will this other decision require from me? I'm always thinking about that. But what if after all of that, you're still not right? And by not right, I don't mean that you're inherently wrong, like there's an answer, um, like an answer sheet where it's like, got that wrong, got that wrong. What if the possibilities are so infinite? What if the possibilities are so grand that it's beyond anything you've ever considered? What if it's bigger than what you could imagine? There's a passage that says, now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think. Okay, so what if I did all the things that seemed right, but now I'm getting to that beyond what I can ask or think? I'll tell you the truth, for me, it was really destabilizing. The first time, I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm not right. Because it came to me in this small voice. And I knew Creator was being careful with me. I knew Spirit was like, let's whisper it to her because she's so bent on being right and saying she followed the rules. Let's be really gentle with her. And I just kept hearing, what if there's another way to think about this? What if there's another consideration for you to make? What if there's something else for you to do? And it took me a minute because, I don't know, it was really challenging. Because what I was being told was, what if everything, like, not that you're not right, but what if everything, like, there's more to everything? And because, I am a person that deals in the metaphysical. The thing that connects us to this 3D world is our five senses: taste, touch, smell. Wait, taste, touch, smell, hearing, and sight. Those are the things connecting us to our existence in this body, some people say in this avatar, it's because we're experiencing the world through that five senses. But what about when you start dabbling a little bit further into, wow, so there's so many infinite possibilities around me at any given time. I can be talking on here, or I can walk out that door. I can do in this moment infinite number of things that will lead to a different path for me. If I was a destructive person and I got really upset about something, angry, I could be like, psh, throw the phone to the ground. Well, now I don't have a phone to deal with and to connect with the rest of the world. Every possible scenario, every possible action is there, right? It is. And what if you've only been looking through, like, what if I've only been, okay, I remember when I first got glasses. When I first got glasses, I was in fourth grade. And, like right now, when I look around, it's like I knew a tree and I could tell, I can look around now and tell you, oh, that's a cup or that's a whatever. But the first time that I put on glasses and I went out and I remember my mother driving off and I could see the leaves from the car. I had been playing as a child forever, but I could literally from the car see the leaves on the tree. Everything began to have like this outline around it for the first time in my life in fourth grade. There was something that I was able to see that I hadn't been seeing before. Does it mean I was wrong? No, it doesn't mean I wasn't wrong. I could see colors. I knew what a tree was. I climbed up trees before. I'd done all of that. However, it wasn't the full story. What I was getting wasn't the full story. What if I'm not totally right? What if there are more options? And if I could just see the options, if I could allow someone to help me with some lenses that could give me a different perspective. What if what I've been thinking was right all this time because I could only see this far, this far, this far. I can only see that far. So yes, I'm going to make it out there. I'm going to do whatever. But the details, come now. The details of things, considerations of things that I couldn't see, little intricate things that I haven't considered because I can't see them. So not what if I'm not right because I'm neglectful? What if with all the information that I have made my decisions and I come now to figure out and understand that there are other ways of looking at the world, which doesn't make me wrong, but there's a fullness. Like, would I have made certain decisions if I could fully see? There's a passage that says we see through a glass dimly. Like the 3D is we're only seeing a little bit. I always tell people I love to watch near-death experiences. And as a researcher who loves content analysis, I sit there and I calculate where are these similarities. And without fail, there are some times where people don't have a life review. They don't have they don't have anything like particular, like uh, um, see a white light. Some don't. Some see infinite darkness. Some feel like they're falling. Some feel like they're flying. So all these things, different things. But without fail, what I hear consistently is all of a sudden, regardless of how they got out, whether they got out through the top of their head, a pop sound popping out of their body, or whatever, they talk about the expansiveness. They said all of a sudden it was like I could see everything around me, and then I didn't have eyes, but I could see everything, and I was talking with someone, but there were no voices necessary. It wasn't from our mouths. And certain things, these senses that we have that allow us to know that we are in this realm, are have barriers and limitations placed on them automatically. They automatically do, because we have agreed to be in this 3D body. We have agreed to come as these babies. I talk about it a lot. I don't care. To understand that the godness of us was squeezed into the smallest little thing. And then, like, I watch videos of cats. I don't know. Listen, I'm not necessarily not an animal person, but I'm not a cuddly animal person. I'm a person that has this highest regard for, like, guard dogs and those that have, jobs. Like, that's just how it comes across to me. It's like when I see them protecting and doing their thing, I'm like, yes, so I'm not a cuddly animal person, but I spend most of my time watching cat, dog, farm videos, bulls, horses. I love the personalities of things. I have so much regard for animals as sentient beings that it's like, yeah, I don't desire to have one myself. I have had pets as a child, but we have rabbits, gerbil, cats, whatever. But at this point, it's like, no, because I have so much regard for them. But I watch these videos, and when they have new ones that are born, they're like, oh, this calf is 4 hours old, and I need to check on the progress, but I got to be careful because mama's there. She's going to guard the baby calf. And so he's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and see. And 4 hours, those calves are walking, following their mama. The cats, the dogs, some of them might be blind at birth, not even have their eyelids or actually open, but they're so much more independent than human babies. And my belief is that it is because it requires us to come into this realm, to come into this forgetfulness of who we really are. It requires so much squeezing to take all of our godness and put it in a human body with the limitations and the density of the human body. And what do I mean by that? To be limited. When I hear people talk about, they say, I was so expansive. It was like, whew. And I feel like I've never had the experience, but I get it. There's something in me that gets it. Now, if there's another way to view something outside of my experiences through this human body, and I've been focusing for most of my life on what I've experienced as right and wrong and up and down and left and right and in and out in this human body. This is good and bad. This is this and that. And then I get a message that says, but what if? What if you're not right? What if there's more? How about that? What if there's more? What if there's a time for what you've been doing and been successful with, but now we want to show you more? And all of my desire to expand, to be the greatest version of myself, what if I've exposed myself and expanded myself now to where what I did, it's kind of like the passage that says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child. But when I became an adult, I put away childish things. But what if I've been working so hard on this expansion that now I've exposed myself to something that requires more? So, not necessarily what if you're not right, but what if there's more? What if there's more? And if there is more, don't you want it? I can tell you from my experiences that I'm having, what I've seen so far is that, you just have to understand how principled I am. One of the reasons my husband actually said he wanted to marry me was because I was so principled. My standards were so, right? I'm not an easy one to just pick up someone's stuff. However, when we decide that we want to be as expansive as possible, perhaps we're listening to other people's experiences without judgment, and we're considering, wow, that is interesting. I've never had that experience. But wow, that's interesting. I can understand how the response to that would be this. Or perhaps I'll listen to someone and without judgment hear what they're saying as a possibility. Perhaps I'll listen, and because I'm not a child anymore, I'm not looking to just please people. So perhaps there are some things that I've just been limiting myself, saying I don't want to do it. I don't know. What are they gonna say? What are the people gonna say? Perhaps, perhaps, because I'm an adult, because I'm expanding, because I'm desiring more, I've exposed myself to other options that I didn't know were possible. So I was terrified at first because the thought of me not being right. And you have to understand, it's not like, oh, I have to be right. No, it's the thought of me living my life in a way where I could not go back and justify everything I had done terrified me. And that's what I was being asked to do. Like, consider that you have done this thing and it has performed and worked for you in a certain way, but what if there's more? What if there are other perspectives you've just never heard? What if there are things you don't know? I remember being in a meeting one time, church meeting, and I was like 17 or 18. First time I was allowed to go to the big church meeting, and I think they were talking about some kind of fiscal something. I said, well, why don't y'all just share it and da da da? And you could see the usher board and the choir and the women's department looking like, I'm not sharing. No, everybody has to do whatever. And I felt I had spoken out for the first time as an adult, but I didn't understand some of the context of what they were trying to do and the responsibilities that each group took because I didn't understand. Um, I had a limited knowledge. So, what if you're not right because your knowledge is limited? Scripture says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So, what if what you've done up to a certain point allowed you to have certain protections and to function in a certain way, but now because of what you're seeking to do, now you need to actually be a little different with it? What if? What if? What if there's more? What if there are things you haven't thought about before? What if there can... It's like the first time, like if you've only been in the country or a rural area and you go to the city, that's less likely now because people travel frequently. But back in my mom and dad's generation, it was very real. Give us, less than a century ago, 60, 70 years ago, you still had midwives and people still could not freely go to hospitals, right? So they were, it's the first time that I, go here. It's like, ooh, well, what I can, let me say it this way. What about the first time you travel outside of your country and you understand that there are people that live in a place that do not have to speak English? And so if you're in the US and it's like, speak American, you get to a place now where the people don't have to speak English and they're not obligated to try to communicate with you. You're in their country now and they could be the same way. When you go to that place and you see some of the behaviors and the cultural things that are done, like, something as simple as driving on the other side of the road. We're just so accustomed, no, this is the right way to do it because why? We're in the US. That's the right way to do it. One of the reasons I love travel, because I have to challenge everything I know. I have to challenge what I think is inherently right. I don't go to African countries and assume that they are wrong. I'm amazed at what things that we've carried on and what things that we dropped and allowed to go away. What if there's more for you? What if you're not right and you don't have to hold to that perspective? Because if you're willing to release it, if you're willing to learn and be a lifelong learner and always be, always willing to say, hey, I'll consider something different. What if your willingness to do that will take you to your next place? What if that is what Creator is waiting for you to consider something that's beyond your knowing, beyond how your family raised you, beyond what you learned in school, beyond where you lived in your neighborhood, beyond what you know. We have technology now that allows us to know more. And my encouragement to you is to not fear the not totally being right. Don't fear the expansion. It can be terrifying. You mean to tell me I could have? You mean to tell me? I used to, I'll say this last thing. I used to talk about how I don't have regrets. And then I had one regret when I started professional birth work. I was like, well, I do regret not talking to my mom or my grandmothers about their experiences. My grandmother's birthing at home, not knowing exactly what my mom would say because she said she would tell me, but there are certain things you don't share until you're in those places. And she passed away 3 months before I married and a year before my first one was born. So I used to say that's my only regret. And I worked hard on it. Let me tell you, in the past 2 months, I've had so many things come up and say, you could have done this differently. If I had to say where my regret meter is, it's like they come gentle, but they say, you didn't have to do that. You did that because you were trying to be a good Christian girl. You did that because these were Southern etiquette. This was Southern etiquette. It was the right thing to do and the right way to do it. You didn't have to do that. There are other people that do other things. You chose to do that. And there comes the accountability, and there comes the whatever. I'm telling you, there's more. And wherever you are right now is the culmination of the decisions that you have made. Yeah, when we're children, there are certain things, but there's a point where we start acting on our own. Some of it is, I grew up this way, my parents were like this, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. And then there's a point where you choose, and we all have it, and we might not remember when it happened. But there's a point where it clicks, and now it's a choice we've made. And all of the decisions are, yes, based in what we've seen and heard, what we've watched, and what we've been taught. And we say that's how I grew up. I grew up like this. But when you desire to have more and you desire to expand yourself, you will come into the knowing of more things that can serve your highest and your best. And my encouragement to you is to not be afraid of them. Don't judge yourself. This is not about right and wrong. It's just, I'm saying, what if you're not right? Because we need to get past trying to be right all the time. Okay? Um, Blessings to you. Blessings, blessings, blessings.